Is intended for adults and is a show featuring adult conversations. Topics may vary, but are focused on human sexuality, fetish, and topics of intimate nature. Some may feel uncomfortable watching this show, and some topics may take you out of your comfort zone. We encourage everyone to stay and learn, as we hope this is an educational show, but stress that viewer discretion is advised. And if a topic makes you feel uncomfortable, please do not continue watching. Welcome to Freaky Friday. Welcome to Freaky Friday, where we dare to talk about taboo topics like fetish, bondage, sex, vibrators, and more. This isn't your dad's Friday night programming, but your mom loves it. Welcome to Freaky Friday, hosted by Mr. Anderson, who is the unboxable, uncanny advocating creator known as the Indie Comics Devil, who will tempt you with his devilish tales of fetish, monsters, and more. Also the giver of free hugs and spends. Everyone watching this program will get virtual free hugs and spends. It's time to get on with the show. Welcome to Freaky Friday. Music provided by the YouTube Audio Library. Produced by Silent Partner. Song name, Tied Up. Warning and disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed on this live feed are those of the guests, speakers, and or hosts, and do not necessarily reflect the beliefs, official policies, ethics, or positions of the content providers, advertisers, additional hosts, and or guests, hosting sites, groups, or entities attached to this programming. Viewer discretion is advised. Hey everybody, we're in October, it's Halloween month. I'm pretty excited. We have an interesting topic today that I wanted to talk to you guys about. I'm going to go ahead and bring it up on the screen, and it's a multi-part conversation today. So it's definitely more of an ADHD mind kind of conversation where we're going to be jumping around left and right. So I want to introduce you, for those who don't know, and those of you who are following this program should probably know by now, but in case you don't, I'm a comic book creator. And there's a character named Wonder Woman who was created by a gentleman called William Moulton Marston. And he also was the creator, believe it or not, of the lie detector. And he came up with something called disc theory and a lot of other stuff. And we'll touch on a bunch of that. And don't worry, there's a lot of links for you to do your own research today. And I hope you go beyond what I show you today and learn more about this. What we're going to be talking about today is masking in general. And as someone with ADHD, I can tell you that I spent a lot of my time masking in my adult life. And what is masking? Masking is the idea that we learn how to act a certain way, even if it's not natural to us. For example, learning to act like you're paying attention with ADHD, even if you're not paying attention. Learning to have certain cues, like in all full disclosure here, sometimes in a conversation I'll get lost and I'll use very simple terms to try to get back on track because my mind just disappeared. I learned to look at a person. There are times where I'm staring and people think I'm staring at them. I have no idea what's going on around me, because I've retreated into my own mind, and I'm not only thinking about one thing, but probably several things. Some other ways to mask are acting a certain way. The idea that people being in the closet or they were acting a certain way so they wouldn't be outed because of their sexuality was a part of masking. Believe it or not, they would act a certain way, say certain things. We see that with our politicians who often talk badly about homosexuality, and it turns out they're homosexual. That is a masking thing. Masking can be dangerous. It can be beneficial. That in itself could be a 2-hour show. The basic idea why I'm discussing masking is masking is also basically code for having to hide who you really are in public. And that brings us to William Moulton Marston. And if you don't know, he created Wonder Woman. And he created Wonder Woman, by the way, in 1941. And there's a great article here with a bunch of facts from CBR that I think is pretty amazing that you guys should check out. And I got this all by just going to Google, by the way, guys. Google's at your fingertips. I always try to give you reputable sites. But in 1941, so 80 years ago, Wonder Woman first made her appearance at the end of 1941, which is right where we are. So we're at an 80-year mark. So, and he created this character. And for those who don't know, there was even a movie here that you guys can check out. I'm not going to show that because I get in trouble if we show the frames of it. But we'll go over here. It's from the Hollywood Reporter. This is a movie about Professor Marston and his marvelous Wonder Woman. He was polyamorous. He was one of the original, more famous people to be known to be polyamorous in America in a time where things were very bad. If you're into BDSM, you'll know the time period of Wonder Woman also to be the same time where Betty Page, right around there was when Betty Page was getting in trouble. You have the Comics Code Authority coming around. It was not a great year for being different. And we find ourselves 80 years later, and I realized that I'm on a very similar path to Marston. And it's crazy. It's actually crazy that I kind of share a same road with him, because he wanted to change the world with a book. And I created a book, you guys know this, called Barbara Unleashed. Barbara Unleashed was basically my answer to 50 Shades of Grey. And mind you, we're just going to move to our next thing here, where we show the IMDb thing here so you guys can actually go find it yourself. So I created Barbara Unleashed to answer 50 Shades of Grey. What a lot of people don't know, and I'll let you in on a little info here, is I had written a BDSM, basically safety book. It went over the safety protocols. It went over how to do things safely, how to meet a partner. It went in depth. Like, this was like definitely a textbook. If I was doing an actual like college seminar class, this would have been the textbook. Let's put it that way. I even came up with my own different ideas, like circles of and it's in the book too, where you're the circles of danger that wound up going in the book that become something interesting. Some things I never used in the book, but this was like almost became the Bible to Barbara Unleashed, because Barbara Unleashed is also educational. I wanted to use a comic book to kind of to change the world in a better way for the fetish and BDSM communities. Marston wanted to use Wonder Woman not only to change how we looked at sexuality, but to also kind of change how we looked at feminism, and or help feminism, I should say, and actually show that women can be powerful and empowered. He's a very progressive person, and it dawns on me 80 years after the creation of Wonder Woman how much we've lost that spirit that he had, and how far we've gone backwards when it comes, especially sexuality and accepting people for who they are. And there is some controversy that some of the things in the movie, I should put this out here, are not necessarily true. There's also a great thing, and I'll make sure to put it in the notes, that the creator of The Walking Dead did this series about comic book history. And it was really cool. And he went into the Wonder Woman thing. It's definitely an episode you guys should check out. I forgot the name of the program. But like I said, by the time you guys are watching it, it'll be in the links. So don't worry about it. Just look at it there and find out how to watch it. It's really informative. I suggest watching the movie in this. There's arguments about how much was changed, whether there were intimate relationships between who and how. The end result was there was something definitely going on. We know that. We know that he was in a relationship with both women, and he had children with both women. So that's not in debate. And this movie, you can see, definitely shed some light into a generation that doesn't really understand who Wonder Woman was, and how Wonder Woman early days had a lot to do with BDSM, bondage, stereotypes, for women, and kind of breaking those molds and talking about psychology. If the movie's to be taken as it says, he wanted to use comics to actually change the world. And I think that's a beautiful thing. He wanted to kind of show the next generation about not necessarily sexuality, but about roles. And he was one of the creators behind the disc. Now, disc is this unique, and I give you guys a video because I can't go fully into it. It's an idea, and it helps you with personalities and stuff and such. Basically, it breaks itself down, and here we go into understanding disc. It's a personality thing, but it kind of shows a little bit more in and out. But you guys will see right here, and I'll blow it up. They even gave it birds for this for whatever reason. But it's dominant, interactive, supportive, and conscientious. And that's not even necessarily what it originally was. And you guys will see that when you go a little more studying. Interactive, it was inducement. Supportive was submissive. And a coercion was conscientious. And we know coercion is not necessarily the best word nowadays, but it wasn't always as bad as we now know coercion can be bad, but it also it's done by human beings. There's a lot with this disc stuff that you guys should go into, and I don't want to spend the whole time talking about it because I want to go back to the idea of masking. Now with ADHD, I have to mask who I am. That means I have to act certain ways. Those who get to know me really well, I see a very different side of me that the people in public see me. And I think we all do that. We all wear a mask in a certain way. We all have to hide certain things we like for someone who has a fetish. And that's me. I didn't choose to have a fetish. A fetish was not something I wanted to. My quick origin story for why I have written a BDSM book, why I talk about bondage, why I do a show called Freaky Friday, why I'm wear free hugs and spanks at shows and hang up big banners that say free hugs and spanks. It all comes down to this. Puberty set on for me, knowing that the idea of a woman tied up caused the physical response. Here's the truth, though. I was raised very religiously Orthodox Catholic, and that's basically religion on high. And I was told touching yourself is a sin, sex is a sin, everything's a sin. And I can tell you that since when I was a kid till now, a lot of that hasn't changed. Parents still tell their kids it's a sin. We tell people that you're not right. I mean, literally, we talked about this. This sign affects people. It is words. We live in America, freedom of speech. That affects people. That upsets people. You can show a woman scantily clad, even naked at Comic Cons, and the promoters will walk around and won't say a word. They see this, and I've had more conversations than not. I am happy to report most of them don't see a big deal. Most of them laugh at it and get the humor in it, get the kind of tongue-in-cheek that it really is. And a few people are like, if someone complains, we'll come talk to you. And realistically, the complaints they're going to get are one or two. And what's the complaint going to be? I don't like what it says. And, people are like, you hang that up at a Comic-Con. Forgetting Wonder Woman is in the building for a minute. And all the BDSM that was in the Wonder Woman line. Let's just talk about how much this is ironic. Because these are just words. And if a child understands those words and really understands the joke, then isn't there something going on at home? Or it's a gifted child. A gifted child should be kind of informed about it. Sexuality, we don't know really how to deal with it. We are very in our infancy with how humans deal with sexuality. We've gone from just doing whatever we wanted to and a very vicious history with it, in fact, to a place where we're kind of finally coming into our own, but yet we still judge each other for who we are. And that reminds me of this man and his creation of Wonder Woman and how much the world continues to hate on people who are different and how heartbreaking that is to know that being different, even now, 80 years after the creation of Wonder Woman, that we are still judged for what we like, for what we want to do, and what we do in our own private lives. And it's really a sad thing. I think he'd be very disappointed in the world we live in now, that I am facing everything I'm facing now and realizing that our paths were similar, and that kind of gives me hope because I think that he was onto something. Sadly, for those who don't know, he had actually wound up dying of cancer, and I think sometimes movements get derailed because the right people aren't there anymore. We've seen that throughout history multiple times. But I think we're in a place where we can revisit that. And I do plan to carry the torch that he lit. And I'm going to change the world. And I don't want everyone, when I say I want to change the world, I don't want everyone to be into BDSM. As a matter of fact, I like people being different. We've all seen The Matrix. We've all seen all the Agent Smiths. We don't want to live in a world full of Agent Smiths. We all want the room to be individuals. What I want and what I think he wanted, not knowing him, but reading some of the stuff he talked about and all the stuff he did, because I've been a big fan of his. I have a Wonder Woman tattoo actually on my body based on his creation and what he did. I see him as someone who wanted to just shed light on something and then let people make their own decisions. And that's what I want to do. I want to shed light on the fact that there's nothing wrong with doing this stuff as long as it's done consensually, as long as it's done with someone who understands it and is done right. Yeah, you can do debates that people take things too far, and I would agree with some of that. But in the end of the day, if we're enjoying, there's something that compels us with fetish. There's a giant market for fetish. There's just something about that. It's human, but so many people have to wear these masks and they don't admit that they're into it, that you don't realize how many people really are. My friends are actually kind of astonished that I can tell who is and who isn't. I can't explain it. I can just look at a person and for the most part, know if they would be at the same clubs as I would be. We'll leave it like that. And I've known it before someone actually knew it in themselves. And I've had exes that I kind of introduced to it and they weren't ready for it yet, but would come back to me later and talk about how they got really into it after that. And there's a comfort thing. There's that moment you have to get over your religious training and all that noise that's compacted in our head. So the idea of masking comes back. We are forced to wear these masks from an early age. It's weird, isn't it? We are taught to go against our baser instincts. We are made to be a certain way, and society kind of doesn't want us to be that. In some ways, that's good. You really shouldn't just go out and try to hurt people to get whatever you want. There has to be laws. There has to be situational awareness of certain things that we have to work together to do, like climate change. We're going to have to work together to move on past this. But then there's this idea that we should have a voice in what other people do with their relationships. And we're at a time right now, and I think this will be looked back at the time where relationships were really re-examined. We've seen cancel culture come and cancel itself. Let's be honest, cancel culture has failed itself because it really didn't know what to do. And here's the thing that was wrong with cancel culture. It was another mask. Because we weren't dealing with things. We were just trying to shun people when we didn't agree with something they did. And there's some bad people in the cancel culture who got attacked, and rightfully so, don't get me wrong. But what we also did is we stopped giving people the ability to be themselves. We stopped giving people the ability to grow and learn from their mistakes. We made it so people had to mask more. People hid more of what they were doing and found ways to do it more dangerously. The honest truth is that, as I think MARSTON would have wanted, was open conversation about this. A change of guard when it comes to how we deal with things and how we understand things and actually challenge things. A lot of his earlier works were about challenging ideas and kind of showing you guys, as the readers, a different perspective. And I hope that's what this show does. So we all wear masks. The thing we have to stop and ask is this a mask I want to wear? And should I have to wear this? For those who don't know, my name is Mr. Anderson. And I'll be back next Friday. We're in October. It's Halloween month to celebrate Freaky Friday every Friday at 9 p.m. Thank you for tuning in. And go out there and do your own research. The links are in the actual body of the show tonight. So go out there, find out more about the creator of Wonder Woman. And this is who I am. Mr. Anderson is the unboxable advocating creator known as the indie comics devil who will tempt you with his devilish tales of fetish, monsters, and more. He is the giver of free hugs and spanks, and he is a partner in Continuum Comics. Check out everything Anderson at chainlinks.site.